Welcome to the Drill Down Show. We hope you were with us, GPS Tracking Academy, earlier today. Good show, thanks. And you're back, Brent.
Yeah, it's been a while.
Hadn't been in the chair for a while. Our resident know-it-all, Brent Romine.
If you want to call it that.
I say that respectfully. Handling the educational process of the show, I'm Mark Bravo. We've got Megan and Brian handling the important stuff, the production of the show and chat, and the Drill Down Show. This is a more succinct version of GPS Tracking Academy, focusing on one particular item along our system. And today it is alert notifications, setting them up, why they're there, how you might raise your game in the alerts department for your company. And first, just a little pregame here. Want to remind you about our tech support, because we at US Fleet Tracking are very proud of live tech support representation here, both our team and the hours. We come to you 7 a.m. to 7 p.m., or actually you can come to us Mondays through Fridays Central Time, 405-726-9900. And on Saturdays, those folks are over there 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. Central, offering live tech support. Want to remind you about our social media. Like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter. It's a great way to know what's going on with the inner workings of the company and give your input in that way as well. Also, if you want to watch archive shows on your own time, your own schedule, go to youtube.com/US Fleet Tracking. If you see a show, it could be an install video, one of these GPS Tracking Academy shows, or anything on youtube.com/US Fleet Tracking that you like, please like that. Remind you, you get surveys, and we very much appreciate your input. It's a way to know what you're thinking, and we have, as we talked about in GPS Tracking Academy, used many of your suggestions with new implementations to our system. So with that, we go to alert notifications in the Drill Down Show. And Brent, first of all, why should folks take a look and see how they can implement those alerts?
So the biggest thing is that those are what allow you to go about your normal day of business without having to be logged into the system, without having to worry about that you're going to miss something. We make sure that if it's something that you might miss if you weren't logged in, that we let you know. We notify you immediately. There's no delay. So if anything does come up that you need to take action on immediately, you know right when that takes place.
It's classically like another employee, or even more, because as you say, you're not tied to the system, whether it be mobile, and we operate along any mobile platform. We accommodate those, or your desktop, but you don't have to stay tied to it. You set whatever type of alerts, and Brent will do a few varied ones for you here. And then you know that if something, either a concern or a point of interest comes up, it will notify you and however many people you want without having to keep an eye on it. Again, it works for you even when you're not there.
Yeah.
So with that, how about we go online and take a look?
Yeah, let's jump on in. So once you're logged in your account, you'll just go to the Alert Notifications tab, and then you can click on Alerts here. And then once we do, we'll hit Create here. And that will get us into our geofence alert. That's going to be the first one that pops up right when you hit it. Geofence is a great way to know when people get to a location, leave a location. It can also be beneficial when you talk about your reports, running reports such as the geofence activity report, knowing how long somebody was in a zone. So let's actually set one up here, and we'll set one up. Let's say with these vehicles being in the Houston area, we want to set one up saying, you know, if they leave and go south of Houston, maybe they're going to take a day break down to the beach, and you want to know when they're headed down towards Galveston area.
And in setting up that polygonal zone, you can do it however large, small, whatever dimensions you want.
Yeah, so like with this one, I just kind of minimized it down to where I'm just kind of covering the main roads that lead out of Houston down towards Galveston. And we can even go in here and we might just name it Galveston there for all of our devices. If we want to add a recipient to it, we just click Add Recipient. That'll give us our list here. So if you want to send an email and or a text message, you can do both, so that's a good way. A lot of people like doing both because it'll put it in your email, you can put it in another box so you can save all of those alerts you got. And when they come to your phone, they just let you know immediately. You may delete them, you don't have to worry about them. So having them in two places is a good idea, and a lot of people go that option.
And as you say, you can populate as many people as you want receiving them.
Yeah, so there's no limit. If you have 10 managers, you make sure every manager gets it. You can also make sure through all your alerts that certain managers are only getting certain alerts, whether it's through the use of the devices here. If you set it up as a group, if you have a group that you want to know and you want to send that to one person, maybe a single vehicle goes to another person, you have all of those options there. And you can set up as many alerts as you want. We don't have any limitations,
Okay.
so there's no worry about going over a limit, getting charged more for using alerts. There's none of that. It's as many as you can put up, we can handle it.
That subscription rate remains the same no matter.
Yes.
And my apologies for my earlier delivery not being able to be heard. That was my fault.
Forgot
now-
to turn the mic on.
There you go. Classic.
So.
So now you are proceeding with the setup.
Yeah, and we have our start and stop time down here at the bottom. These are a way where you can say what times you want the alerts to trigger. So maybe you're only worried from 12 a.m. to, let's say, 6 a.m. We can set that up. So that will just alert me if either of these happens during 12 to 6 a.m. Outside of that, I'm not worried about it. That's a good way. You can set it up for your business hours, for your off business hours, very specific times, even if you want to do just during the lunchtime. You want to know if one of your guys drives home at lunch and maybe he lives an hour away, so you put a geofence on the way out there and set it up for just lunch times. There's a lot of great ways that you can do that, and they really let you customize it. So you may feel like you have a lot of alerts, but they're all doing very specific things. You can also do them on enter or on exit, and you can change the color of your fences as well. So you can select any color that you want there. Let's make it a little bit brighter. There we go. So you can see that I can make it a yellow fence. That's a way that a lot of people kind of denote their fences. So they may have them around their customers. They may all be red. If they're around their actual locations, they may all be green. So it's a way where when they see the map that they can actually know what that geofence is, not just that it's a geofence.
And the more you've done it, the more it becomes automatic. You know just what that one is and just what this color is.
Absolutely.
Yes. And there you are. Very important in going through, as you said in the show, setting up alerts. If you didn't set it up correctly, there's no guesswork that's needed here. It will not give you that green check of alert modified. It will tell you that something's missing, whether a phone, whatever.
Yeah, so that's a good way for you to know that you did set it up correctly before you move on. And if it does come up, and it will pop up a red box, and it'll tell you exactly what you're missing there.
And you mentioned that you might think you're setting up an exorbitant number of alerts. To your point, as those that aren't used very often or maybe never don't get prompted if they're not used, and there is no limit. If you set them, you'll never hear from them. It's not a problem. But if that one time it gives you an alert that becomes really a pivotal alert, that's been worth it and could save you who knows what number of months of subscription rate simply by having it set. You can put them in there and not worry about them. You can always delete them, or you can keep them for posterity's sake forever.
Absolutely. So we'll jump in. Our next one's our ignition alert. So with this alert, that's going to let you know whenever someone turns ignition on or off. The only difference with this one is that it does have to be one of our hardwired devices or one of our devices like the OBD that plugs into the vehicle. As long as it's able to read the ignition status, you can set up an ignition status. This becomes extremely beneficial where if you guys aren't supposed to be driving your vehicles after the work hours, setting it up at outside your work hours, setting it up to know when the ignition turns on, so that way if somebody does turn the ignition on, and it's not necessarily just to know that something's always going wrong. It may be that maybe he pulled his work truck in behind his wife's car and he needs to move it at 9 o'clock at night so she can leave. But it's just a cautionary because the time that it does happen, outside of those, it may be something that you need to act on immediately.
Right. It can open up a conversation and see where maybe you can tighten up procedures. Again, maybe no fault at all, just more information for your team.
Absolutely. So next one's our idle. This is a big one. This is one that I think is extremely beneficial to any fleet of vehicles. So here with this one, you just set your time. So if you wanted to know anytime somebody idles over 15 minutes, you get an alert as soon as they hit that 15 minutes of idling. That can immediately impact you because if you make a phone call and say, hey, I saw that you're idling for 20 minutes, go ahead and turn the truck off. I know that you're going to be waiting for a while, but can you turn the truck off? that might automatically right then and there cut that idle time from an hour to 15 minutes. So it's a great one that you can use to impact your business immediately right there.
Mm-hmm. And these setups, you contour them completely as you wish. We don't corner you into what we think you need. You can always do it. If you ever have any questions about it, first of all, on alerts, you've got that blue circle question mark, which gives you roughly a 90-second tutorial about how to run through it, and then you always have tech support to call.
Yeah, so those blue question marks are a huge help, especially when it's not a live training week. Mm-hmm. You can get through those and make sure, so you can see them all up here. So whenever you click that, you'll get your training video and be able to help you walk through it.
Would you click that, please? Just let them see what that would look like. It'll simply populate with a tutorial, and you're in business.
So that video will just go through and show you how to use that set up your alerts, how to use them, kind of just like we are here. We're just going a little bit more in depth because we have a little bit more time. So idling alerts, and then we also have our maintenance alerts. This is something that's mostly set up under the maintenance, but you can also set them up under the alert system. It allows you to set up warnings and alerts on maintenance that's due, whether it's oil changes, tire rotations, anything like that to keep your vehicles healthy. Most of that does live, though, under the maintenance section, so we cover that a lot when we go into the maintenance part.
And no particular benefit to setting it up through maintenance or alerts?
No, we just give you both options.
Okay.
So that way, if you think about it as an alert, it's still there, and if you don't go to the maintenance section. So that's the only reason why it's in there.
And as we spoke of in GPS Tracking Academy, those maintenance alerts become invaluable in terms of really allowing you to use your time wisely, everything being set for you. Again, no limits. And if you save a job in terms of hours your equipment is used or just regular maintenance, if you were to save a big expense of a repair, that as well makes the system pay for itself in no time.
Oh, it can do it very quickly too.
One-time setting and you're in business. Again, no limits there in terms of numbers.
Yeah. And next is our panic alert. So our panic, with our hardwired devices, they have an input wire. That's what we call our panic or our PTO, if you read the documentation. If that's hooked up, that's a good way to know when something happens specific in the vehicle. So if you're interested in hooking up something, maybe knowing when the airbags go off, if you have a cement truck, knowing when they're pouring cement, give us a call and we can get you in touch with an installer that can help you walk you through how to set up that wire, so that way you can actually get use out of the panic button. You may set it up for very specific reasons, or it may just be you want to know how long they've been pouring cement, or whichever way, and then you can use it in reports that way. But if it's something you're setting up to know when something happens, whether it's the airbag goes off or something like that, that's when you want to know the panic, and that's when that alert can become extremely beneficial.
These become alerts and settings that completely personalize your system for you. And as we spoke in GPS Tracking Academy, it's thought of as largely a location-based asset. Live GPS tracking, especially as fast as U.S. fleet tracking's, is a pioneer in speed.
Yep.
Well, way beyond location-based. The software allows you to architect an entire suite of products that helps your company, your dispatch, your mobile team, down every line, really.
Yeah, we can really affect any part of your business.
And you all, both via programming and in the alterations to the system, have really raised the game of the system. So if you've been with us a long time and haven't looked to see what's new, you see a different look, of course. You put a lot of months into that, but there are also many additions that will raise your game, both company and personally.
Oh, absolutely, and we'll keep bringing things like that
out. Right.
So power alert. This is going to be if you have a portable device that has a battery system, or in some of our devices like the AT and now the new OBD and some of the other ones that have battery backups. This is also considered like a tamper alert. So if somebody cuts the power to the device, what you can do is you can actually come in here, set a power percentage, and if you have a battery-operated device, normally I tell people set it at 25%. That allows you to get the alert and then know that, okay, I've got about 25%.
I've got a little time.
Yeah, I've got time to get out there, get it off the vehicle, recharge it, and then get it back out before it dies.
Great.
And then if you, any number, even if you put in 25 for those hardwired devices, any number in there, as long as it's between 1 and 99, is going to alert you when the power gets disconnected from the vehicle itself. So that way it can send you a message saying, hey, the install, maybe the wire just came loose through normal driving. They drive on bumpy roads, the wire needs to be reconnected. Or it could even be, possible actual tampering with the device, whether it's maybe someone was trying to steal the vehicle or anything like that.
And they think they're scot-free, but
Yeah.
don't realize there's a battery there to alert you.
Yeah, and you'll still have time to track it down, figure out what's going on, even after that power's cut.
So 25 would really be a minimum you'd usually want to set it.
Yeah, I wouldn't suggest going any lower. And if you do go lower, make sure you have a 25% set up, because if you go any lower than that, you're kind of cutting it close on knowing your time. So normally I use that as like a secondary, like another alert, like maybe at 15%. So that way I know, okay, I really need to do this now, but I always want to make sure I have that 25% set up.
Because as you said, should there be someone tampering with it or even stealing, you've got time. It's going to be live long enough for you to probably track it and do something about it.
Yeah, and if you have this alert set up, no matter what percentage, as soon as it happens, you'll get that alert too. So that's going to be a big benefit.
So battery operated, you really want to implement the power alert.
Yeah, either way.
Very good.
So, and then we'll go with the radius alert. This is one we talked about a little bit. This comes in really handy with addresses on accounts and also vehicles. So this could be that you want to know when a vehicle gets within a specific address, or if they get close to another vehicle. If you have two drivers that, we'll kind of show you how to set one up.
Great.
We'll just call this one too close since it's a radius alert. Say we want to make sure that this vehicle here doesn't come within 250 feet of this vehicle. So, I needed to select that one on the bottom to select down. So where I'm selecting this radius center, I'll select that vehicle there. So that will put that radius alert, and then I'll zoom in so you can see it.
Number 2 doesn't show up, but it shows up just not on the alert info.
Yeah, so now I've got it here. This is the second vehicle
there
down
we
here.
go.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I've got it set, so if this vehicle at top gets within 250 feet of this vehicle, I'll get an alert. And then one of the keys here is if I hit this track center button, that alert will move with that vehicle anywhere it goes. So that way I can always know, no matter what's going on throughout the day, if they get close to each other. I can also set the center on an address marker that I've set up and then click the track center. And if I ever move that address marker, the fence moves with it.
So it's a flexible alert. Yes, it always remains relevant.
Yeah, and you don't have to worry about resetting up the alert once you change something. It's just going to continue going.
Great, because obviously one of the reasons you may not want two of your team members that close is we're not getting the full efficiency of covering distances.
Yeah, and it may be just that, maybe it's just a one-man job and you don't need somebody else showing up. So if somebody else shows up, it might be kind of alert to say, hey, maybe I should wire two people at this job site. So it's a great one to use.
Allows you in that way as well to make decisions on the fly. Maybe you implement driver number 2 somewhere else, as you mentioned.
And then we'll cover the route alert here. The route alert is, in a way, I actually think it's similar to the way that the radius works.
Radius.
Yeah. So if you have a route set up, we have one in here. And you want to know anytime they deviate, this is by feet from the route. So if we want to know if anytime they get 500 feet off of their route, and then we get alerted, whether it's when they exit their route. This is an extremely beneficial one that comes down to security. A lot of our big events that we have done, including the Super Bowl, political conventions, Olympics, use these specifically to know that their drivers are taking the right routes, they're being safe, and anytime they get off that route, they get an immediate notification so that way they can take action. And it may be that they're just fueling up, they found a gas station to hit.
Possibly took a turn that didn't show up on the map and buried a few feet. Yes, but both for security and for timeliness. Very important.
Yeah, so that's
and for what we're always looking for, really the summary of the entire system. It lends peace of mind. Certainly lends to the bottom line, but peace of mind also.
Oh yeah, it's one of the best things right there is the peace of mind that the system can give you. Speed alert. This is one where you can set up. So this one, let's say for maybe this vehicle on my account, that's maybe a large truck, so I know that they shouldn't ever go over 65 miles per hour anywhere. I can set up an alert to be notified anytime they go over 65 miles an hour. And it may be, be that it's a regular car, so you may put 75 miles an hour on it. You can really set that to any limit. If you have some of those heavy equipment that may be on like a job site, maybe you're building roads, building houses, and you know that on the job site that these vehicles will never exceed 25 miles an hour, because when they're going, they're not going to be there. They're going to be on a trailer on the way there. That's a good way to know and make sure that they're not damaging the equipment by going too fast on sites. They're not speeding on roads where that truck should never be going that fast. It's a good way to immediately be notified at that point. So anytime they break those thresholds, you'll get an alert.
And this is another way to allow your team to show they're doing it right. We talked in the previous show about maybe even for team building, so to speak, establishing contests. If you do best at not having any notifications, lunch a month, whatever, that's your call, of course. But it builds camaraderie. It allows this to by far not only be that you're only contacting people with negatives, it can be with positives.
Yep. And then our last one here we'll jump into is going to be our timeout alert. So the timeout alert's a little bit different. It works off of geofences, so that's one of the interesting things about it. So when you have geofences set up, you may have a specific geofence or an area that you want to know if somebody's inside of a zone for too long. So what you do is you can actually say, like, this is in minutes. So if we wanted to say if anybody's in a geofence for more than 2 hours, send me an alert. So this may be that the jobs that your company does shouldn't take more than an hour at any point in time, but they may take up to an hour and a half. So at 2 hours, somebody's been there for too long. Something's not right.
Okay.
And it may be that, maybe you're in the oil and gas industry and somebody's out on a rig, and it may be that they're dealing with hazardous materials. So you want to make sure that they're not on a site for more than an hour.
Right.
And this allows you to make sure of that safety right there. Alerted if they're there for too long. Safety, maybe somebody just needs to call him and say, hey, are you there? And he's like, hey, yeah, I got caught up with the foreman on site. He's not actually where, doing what he is, where he's in trouble, but it lets you know so that way you can protect your employees in the best way possible.
Yes, so the timeout alert is in minutes, so if it's no more than a 3-hour job, you'd simply put 180 there.
Yeah,
it's totally by minutes.
Yeah, you can just
Great.
update it easily and then save it right there.
Okay, and what that allows you to do is quite possibly shore up efficiencies. Maybe you get an extra service call in a day and imagine what that lends to your bottom line over a month, not to mention a year.
Yeah, especially if you can do that across your entire fleet.
Oh, yeah.
Then it's going to bring a huge amount of revenue by the end of that year.
Mm-hmm.
So those are the easiest ways with alerts, and that's really what alerts are all about, is letting you know exactly what's going on, even if you're not in the office, even if you're not sitting at your computer, or even if you're just doing something else while you're sitting at your computer. It lets you know what's going on throughout the system.
And as one who has been in on architecting many of these, you are a big fan. You would certainly recommend that our customers delve in if they're not using them, just see if they lend value.
That's one of the first things that I do when a customer comes on is really get them started in alerts, because it's not only just about the alerts, but a lot of our alerts can lend to reports that can be helpful for their company.
Right, right.
So that's the big reason why I would say getting into alerts is a big part of the system.
Very good. Brent Romine, thanks again as always. Great job of maneuvering us through the system. Always, you can call tech support the hours of 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Mondays through Fridays Central Time, and Saturdays 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. Central, 405-726-9900. We've got Facebook. As you see right now, if you want to see archive shows, youtube.com/US Fleet Tracking. Would love you to take a look at what we have there. It's a library of tutorials and shows. Like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, all of that. Great way to know what's going on with us, and for us to know what's going on with you and your implementation of US Fleet Tracking's live GPS. Those surveys, we'd appreciate them back. They help us a lot. And remember, we will be back in 2 weeks with another GPS Tracking Academy and Drill Down show. For now, we thank you very much for being loyal US Fleet Tracking customers, or hopefully prospective customers from anywhere around the country you're watching today. For Megan, for Brian, I'm Mark. Have a great weekend. We'll see you in 2 weeks.